Hey, this is Svart from Contracult Collective, and you fucking freaks are listening to the Dan Chan Show on Hard Rock Hell Radio.
What did you think this would be?
How's it going, man? Everything good?
It's going all right. As good as it can be.
So you're in LA at the moment, and is it still fully locked down?
Yeah, we started to open a few businesses recently. They reopened the beaches and the parks, and there's a few things for curbside pickup, but generally speaking, it's about as locked down as any other place right now.
Yeah, cool.
You know, besides the middle of the country.
Same here. So you guys have released 2 singles this year so far with Hogtied and Violet, which is a whole cover, which you did an excellent job on, and WD.
There's actually 3.
Was it 3?
Yeah, there's another one we have up now called WDYT.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, that WDYT. Yeah. So you got 3. You got 3 singles, because I thought that the Hogtied Violet came out together, didn't it? So WDYT is a separate one, right? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, how's it going? I mean, are you working on that towards an album? Because you signed to Roadrunner now, aren't you?
Yeah, we actually are. We did the first 2 singles with them, but we're actually not working with them anymore. Okay. But yeah, we're working up to. We have another single coming out this week on Friday, depending on when this airs, the 22nd. Yeah. And then we're working up to like a 6-song EP that we finished when we were still working with Roadrunner, that will probably release by the summer, late summer, possibly earlier fall or so. And then we have a couple other things in the works, kind of smaller releases that are going to come and follow that.
So why the whole cover? What was the reason behind that?
I just always really liked the song. And I thought, and you know, we battled around with like a cool cover idea for a while, and we wanted to do something that was kind of outside of what we do normally as a band. And I thought that, you know, being male and covering a female fronted project would be kind of interesting as well. And I just think the song's really powerful, and you know, I thought we could really make it our own. And you know, when we went through up a couple different ones, that was just the one we liked the most.
So your influence, I mean, you come from an extreme metal background for yourself. Is that a personal influence? And you settled on industrial with your bandmate Culprit. Tell me about the process and what those influences are.
I'd say we both come from extreme metal backgrounds. Yeah. I mean, you know, I grew up on everything from like extreme death metal to, you know, more punk stuff. And he grew up on like definitely the more extreme side of metal things. A lot of like Southern rock influence and a lot of that kind of Southern sludge stuff. As far as our writing process goes, you know, we're both guitar players, so we both contribute riffs. Sometimes it starts on, you know, I'm kind of in charge more of the programming and arrangement, production side of it. So sometimes I kind of come up with a texture, a rhythm or something, and then he lays down riffs to that, and you know, I help kind of guide it if I'm hearing things in a certain way and I'm hearing, you know, a chorus this way or a key change this way. It's very collaborative though. I think it's a really very even 50-50 split between us.
And it's just the 2 of you, isn't it?
Yeah, on the production side of things, it's the 2 of us. We have a keyboard player named Bex that we play with live, and she does backing vocals, and she actually sings on the chorus of Hogtied.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So we've actually been working with her a bit more and getting her more involved in our writing process, because she comes from, you know, a totally different musical background than us and can kind of contribute like a little bit more of the hooky pop elements that we.
It's always good having a female voice in industrial metal anyway, I think, like Rammstein have done in the past and other bands like that. KMFDM.
Hell yeah.
So give me some of the band's history. So you 2 got together, you wanted to do a project. Have you been in bands before? Because you're relatively new and young and upcoming, aren't you?
Yeah. We had been in another band before called White Widow's Pact. And during that time, I think we just, you know, that was kind of how our friendship started and how our musical relationship started. And we were really busy with that project and did, you know, 2 full-length albums and spent a lot of time on it. But in the midst of discussing everything, we both realized that we also really, really liked this side of metal and this side of industrial metal specifically. And, you know, didn't really see a lot of projects popping up around that time. And we wanted to do something and try to contribute to that and try to like bring guitars back into it. You know, I think that was like a big mindset of our goals, and also kind of like writing bigger choruses and, you know, trying to really hook somebody in. 'Cause I think anybody can put a drum machine under a guitar part, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's interesting or fun. Yeah. So we started doing that, like, and we were working for a while under another title, another name called Hogwash. And then, started working with Roadrunner, and then that's kind of where this project blossomed from.
So, I mean, does LA have an industrial scene? Because I went to see Lindemann back in London back in February, and the band Aesthetic Perfection supported them.
Yeah.
And obviously they're from LA. So are you starting something fresh in LA now? Something new that's like revitalizing the industrial scene?
I wouldn't say we're necessarily revitalizing it, but I think there is definitely something happening in LA. You know, there's besides Aesthetic Perfection, there's a band called Three Teeth that started a few years ago, and they're really, I mean, I think as far as like a contemporary band goes, they've really like set the bar and kind of like taken advantage and become kind of like the most fresh, promising prospect in the scene right now. And I think what they come from and where they kind of have guided this is definitely something that's been like very prominent in LA for a while. I think LA has just had a really good goth and industrial scene for years, and you know, I'd say we're contributing to that, and you know, trying to be a part of the revitalization. But I wouldn't necessarily say that we're like on the forefront of it or anything. But there's been a lot of good clubs and parties and events happening here for a while, and even stuff that's like come about in the last few years, you know, before this pandemic.
Do you think the industrial music, it lends its origins to Europe or the States? I mean, a lot of people assume industrial metal is very much a European thing, but then you've got bands like Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson and etc. What do you think? What's your opinion on that?
I think historically it's definitely linked to Europe, Manchester in particular. I think Manchester and Berlin. Yeah. But you know, like during the start of those bands like Throbbing Gristle and Neubauten and those kinds of projects and things that were like a little bit more linked into the noise thing, you know, at the same time there was like the rise of early techno in Detroit, which I think also contributed a lot to that sound and kind of like texturizing and making a real solid rhythm with like these other kind of mechanical textures. So I don't know. I think it started in Europe, but you know, it's one of those things where I feel like sometimes there's just like an energy. There's just kind of like an overall energy that's happening, and you know, I don't really know what it is. Maybe it's spiritual or something that causes like different people in different parts of the world and the country and what have you to sort of like gravitate towards making us kind of sound at the same time. Like, you know, it's the same thing of like making the argument of like, you know, where did punk come from? It's like, well, if you really trace the origins of like when these bands were starting, a lot of them were starting all at the same time and didn't know about each other. So I think that kind of, I think you could make the same case for industrial music.
So I mean, with the lyrical content and what the songs are about, tell me a bit more about that, because that's got some edgy content, right?
You know, they're all really personal. They're all really personal to me, and things that have, you know, whether things that have happened or things I'm experiencing or things I desire. I mean, like Hogtied in particular is a true story about when I got topped by this lesbian couple at a wedding. I think with that and with like the edgy stuff, and especially with that song in particular and some of the S&M stuff, you know, I am a part of that scene. I don't just kind of like fetishize it from afar and, you know, consider myself a switch. And I think primarily with that song, like, you know, you have a lot of people, particularly men in this scene, that are writing a lot of that are, you know, might touch on S&M and write about it a lot, but it's all kind of done. It's either done in a completely goofy way, or it's kind of done in like a suck me, fuck me, I'm the man, I'm in control of you sort of way. So I think with that song in particular, I really wanted to reverse those roles, because you don't really have like a big rock industrial song about the submissive male. So I think that was the content of that. And for the rest of my lyrics, they're just about pain and love and suffering and just things I experience and things that inspire me.
So are you gonna, with the future music and the EP coming up, are you gonna keep pushing the boundaries on that?
Always.
And do you like making viewers, listeners feel uncomfortable? Is that a success in your eyes?
Yeah, I think it has to be. I think I agree. I don't think you really make a real statement unless you do push the boundaries and do something new. And it becomes kind of harder and harder to do that every day when we're so desensitized by the world around us, that if I can achieve that in any sort of way, and whether you love it or hate it, I think I've done what I set out to do.
Cool. Have you toured much together?
We have in our other projects. We were just kind of coming up when this all hit, so we only really had the opportunity to play one show, unfortunately.
When do you think shows will get back? This year, next year, ever? When?
Yeah, right. I don't think it's going to be I could see some kind of live performance in front of people coming back this year, but I don't think that shows coming back is just going to be some marvelous event and all the shows come back. I think it's going to be based off of the territory you're in. It's going to be based off of that amount of cases, how they can test people and keep people safe and also let the world know that and make it so enough people want to go see a concert, even, because there's the other side of that. It's the opening up is not necessarily what's going to bring or keep the crowds away.
Have clubs been affected in LA at all?
Oh yeah,
do you think any will not reopen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a few of them won't reopen. I think the ones that have some kind of corporate sponsorship behind them, Live Nation owned and those types of things, I think they will. I think they will be able to stay, and I think they'll start to. And I think venues are already talking about trying to bring the live stream thing back up and what they can do in those those kinds of environments. So I wouldn't be surprised if places like the Whiskey start doing that, and Roxy and what have you.
Yeah, that's cool. So you've got a six track EP coming out, another track coming out on the 22nd of May. So what's the when that's all sorted and hopefully when we can get back out on the road again, right. What's the plans? Are you going to be touring the States, to Europe? What's the idea?
Hopefully both. We have agents in both territories. We have an international and a U.S. agent. Unfortunately, we were booked for 2 festivals here in the States over the fall. There was talks about some touring around that time. We were, we were ready to start moving on that and start kind of introducing ourselves to the world. So, as soon as we can get out there, we really want to tour and we really want to play. We're ready when everyone else is.
We need an LA industrial metal world tour with 3 Teeth.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Definitely down for that.
Well, Svart, thanks so much, man. Good luck with everything, and hopefully see you in Europe in the future.
Sounds great. Thank you. Take it easy.